Are you someone, like me, who has a hard time getting motivated to exercise? In this video, I'll share why my exercise routine stopped working and a tarot reading that helped me get motivated to do something new. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In today's video, we'll be using a 3-card spread to answer the question, how can I get motivated to exercise? I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there is a link below. Let me give you some background about why I stopped exercising a few months ago. First, let me say that I have never been particularly athletic. I had bad asthma as a kid, and I'm also 6 feet tall, which is not a good combination, and my high school gym classes were absolute torture. I've always admired people who prioritize exercise and feel like it's the best part of their day. I have never gotten close to that point. My motivation for exercising has been mostly to manage my weight. For me, exercise is in the brushing my teeth category. I know it's good for me, and I do it, but I don't wake up counting the hours until I can brush my teeth or exercise. For the last few years, my cardio exercise has been walking my dog. She's an 8-year-old miniature dachshund with 4-inch-long legs, so we don't go very far or very fast. But it got me out of the house for 20 minutes or so every day. My dog was far more excited about these walks than I ever was and had no problem reminding me when it was time. The second thing I've done consistently are stretching and strengthening exercises. So here's what happened. I mentioned this a few times in my videos, so it won't be news to some of you that I sustained lung damage following COVID a year ago. Then about 4 months ago, I ended up with a respiratory infection that left me in a bad place. I did make a video about it called How to Heal My Lungs, which I will link to below. The respiratory infection reduced my lung function again and has left me exhausted. For a long time, I had to think twice about climbing the stairs to the second floor of our house. I couldn't even go grocery shopping because it would wipe me out. So I stopped walking my dog and I haven't restarted. I'm always hesitant to share my medical history because it makes me sound like a mess, but I kind of am. Over the last few months, I've been on a lot of medication to try and heal my lungs, which led to stomach issues. So now I'm on heartburn medication because leaning over was causing major reflux. That's getting better with medication, but it's causing additional side effects. Then, to make things worse, about a month ago I tripped over a dog dish and injured a tendon in my foot, and these can take months to heal. So between my exhaustion and my foot pain, I have done very little physical activity, which has led me to becoming deconditioned and a few additional issues. So I need to get back to exercising. Ideally, I would exercise in a pool. Unfortunately, I live in the middle of nowhere and the nearest health club is a half-hour away, and I'm not willing to invest that amount of time. I decided to do a tarot reading and ask the question, how can I motivate myself to exercise? I used a 3-card motivation, challenges, support spread. Card number 1 represents motivation, and I drew the High Priestess reversed. Card number 2 represents challenges, and I drew the 7 of Swords reversed. And card number 3 represents support, and I drew the Hermit. Let's talk about my first impressions. I feel like these cards are all very different. We have 2 major arcana cards and 1 minor arcana card. 2 cards are reversed. All cards contain a single person. The minor arcana card is a sword and therefore about thoughts and communication. Honestly, I didn't have any brilliant takeaways from my first impressions. I feel like this is going to be a very tough reading. Let's look at the cards individually. Card number 1, motivation, looks at why I am struggling to get motivated to exercise, and I drew the High Priestess reversed. In the upright position, the High Priestess is about listening to my inner wisdom and paying attention to my needs and feelings. In this case, exercise would be a way to deepen my relationship with Spirit and pave the path to enlightenment. I'm all for that. Unfortunately, the High Priestess card is reversed and that message isn't applicable. Something else I noticed about the High Priestess is her crown that relates to either the phases of the moon, which are waxing, full, and waning, or natural cycles such as tides or menstruation. I take this to mean that we can't hurry Mother Nature. Much as I'd like my lungs and my foot to heal faster, I'm really not in charge of the pace, The moon takes close to a month to circle the Earth, regardless of how much we'd like it to move faster. The other thing the crown can represent are the 3 phases of a woman's life. These are known as the maiden, which is virginity, the mother, which is adulthood, and the crone, which is old age. Sadly, I am now solidly in the old age category, and things take longer to heal as we age. The other thing I always think about with the High Priestess is structure. We see her sitting between 2 pillars. Having a structured approach to exercise was very helpful. For years, I had great success walking my dog at a specific time of day, noon in cool weather and early in the morning in warmer weather. That way I don't have to waffle and tell myself that I'll do it later, as it's part of my routine. Also, my dog, as I said earlier, is very keenly aware of time and lets me know if it's 30 seconds past her previously agreed upon walk schedule time. Now let's look at what the High Priestess means in the reverse position in terms of why I'm struggling to get motivated. The first thing the reversed card can represent is that I'm not in touch with my intuition, my feelings, or what my body needs. I think this is true. Before I hurt my foot, I was already angry that my lungs weren't healing quickly enough. Now I'm having the same feelings about my foot. Intellectually, I realize that this makes just about as much sense as wishing the moon will circle the Earth more quickly, but that's how I've been feeling. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so much more harsh on myself than I am with other people. If a friend was in this situation, I would tell her to be patient with her body and that healing takes as long as it takes. I think one reason I'm having a hard time getting motivated to exercise is because I want to hurry up and get back to the routine that worked so well for me in the past. I keep expecting that I'll wake up with a healed foot and renewed energy to walk my dog. In the upright position, the High Priestess is very centered and sure of her path. Another characteristic of the reverse card is somebody who is uncertain of their path. And this is true with my exercise. I don't know what the best course of action is at this point. Do I accept that doing cardio in the form of walking is not going to happen for a while until my foot heals, and then my poor dog may not get walked for another few months? And it is frustrating when I can't will something to happen. And then there's the exhaustion piece. I know I could do something like chair yoga in the near future, which is better than doing nothing. However, I feel like that's giving into the fact that I am old and feeble, which is not exactly a helpful thought. Or is the problem that I'm overthinking all of this and looking for a perfect solution, when what I need to do is just start somewhere? This reading made me think of the book Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones, by James Clear. If you haven't already read this, it's excellent, and I think it's time for me to reread it. The author recommends 4 steps for creating a new habit. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. James Clear also recommends starting small. If you want to start exercising, for instance, he does not recommend that you sign up for a triathlon and start training 20 hours a week. He recommends that you change into your workout clothes and do that until it becomes a habit. The next phase is just stepping out your front door, and if you feel like it, going for a short walk. You try to improve 1% at a time. My final takeaway from this card is that I need more structure around exercise. Waiting to get motivated is not working. James Clear has a solution for this too. He recommends linking a new habit with something you're already doing. I remember a few years ago when I was working on my balance. I would stand on one foot while I was brushing my teeth. I have an electric toothbrush that buzzes every 30 seconds until the final timer goes off after 2 minutes. The 30-second buzz would be my cue to change feet. It didn't take extra time, and it helped improve my leg strength and balance. If I wanted to avoid a potential toothbrushing accident, I could have done the balance work after I finished brushing my teeth. In summary, the reversed High Priestess tells me it's time to take a new approach to exercise and not just wait until I can revert to my old habits, no matter how successful they were. I need to start with a tiny step forward, such as changing into my exercise clothes, although I work from home and that's basically all I wear, and figure out a way to add my tiny new exercise routine onto something that is already a habit. Card number 2, Challenges, gives suggestions about how I can overcome some of the obstacles I've been facing about getting motivated to exercise. and I drew the Seven of Swords reversed. In the upright position, the Seven of Swords is about being deceptive or sneaky. I can see this being how I've been approaching exercise recently. I promise myself that I'll exercise, but then I will cut corners or find excuses not to follow through or conveniently forget. I also feel like this card shows laziness and a lack of commitment. He's stealing swords, but he's leaving a couple behind. Maybe he's just being nice, but you would think, as a thief, he'd want to steal everything he possibly can. So my interpretation is that he sees taking the additional 2 swords as too much work, and he'd rather leave them behind than work a bit harder for a larger payoff. Swords also represent thoughts, and this makes sense in terms of my thoughts about exercise. Sure, I know that it is good for me, that it will help build my strength, and that I have to start somewhere. But then I look back at other thoughts such as, I'll start tomorrow, or I'm sure I'll feel stronger tomorrow and it will be a better time. I think it's time to discard these less than helpful thoughts. In the reverse position, the Seven of Swords is about getting honest with yourself and taking accountability for your actions. It's like the thief has been rehabilitated. Rather than trying to find the easy way out by stealing, he makes a decision to put in the work to actually earn a living. I think this is a message for me that I need to put some effort into getting motivated, not just expect it will happen. I actually haven't done this. I make a to-do list every day and always add exercise to the list, but I haven't actually thought about why the exercise isn't happening and what I can do differently. Doing this reading was the first effort I actually put into remedying this situation. The other thing I noticed is that the swords, which represent thoughts, will fall out in the reverse position. This means that thoughts can change. So it might be that my thoughts are more of a problem at this point than my body. If I can change my thoughts, I will be able to change my motivation. You've made it this far in the video, and I wanted to stop and ask for a favor if you're not already a subscriber, and that is to please hit the subscribe button. It's free for you, and it will also help me grow this channel. Plus, it means that you won't miss anything. Thanks so much, and if you're already a subscriber, I truly appreciate your ongoing support. Now let's get back to the video. Card number 3, support, gives me an idea of things I can do in order to support my desire to exercise regularly, and I drew the Hermit. Hopefully this does not mean that my new form of exercise will be climbing snow-covered mountains at night. Hermits were traditionally people who turned away from the material world so they could live lives of prayer and introspection that would lead to them becoming closer to God. It is a card about the benefits of being alone, looking inward for answers, and connecting with spirit. The first message of the Hermit is about the importance of introspection and looking inward at why I was having such a hard time getting motivated to exercise. Doing this tarot reading was part of the self-reflection process. The Hermit is also a reminder that I need to connect with spirit and ask spirit, or anyone else, for help, which is something I haven't done. Another thing that the Hermit can represent is working with some kind of mentor. This could be an exercise expert, such as a personal trainer or physical therapist who could help with my rehab. In modern day, I think it could mean some kind of an online exercise instructor who I can watch on my computer. A mentor can also be an author. Earlier, I mentioned Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I decided to reread his book, which is excellent. I had actually forgotten his story, which is in the introduction to the book, and I'll share it with you now. James Clear was playing baseball on the final day of his second year of high school when a classmate took a full swing with a bat. The bat flew out of the classmate's hands and smashed into James's face. This resulted in a broken nose, multiple skull fractures, and 2 shattered eye sockets. The rapid swelling of his brain caused him to lose consciousness, and then he stopped breathing. He was flown by medical helicopter to a hospital where he began having seizures and was placed in a medically induced coma and on a ventilator. He eventually recovered and 6 years later was named to the ESPN Academic All-American Team, an honor that was only given to 33 players across the country. The experience taught him that small changes can lead to big improvements, which is the premise of the book. I love that Atomic Habits came to mind and feel like Spirit gave me this nudge. When I read this book previously, it was from the viewpoint of building a business. Rereading it at this point in my life was great encouragement that there are people who are worse off physically than I am, although I will admit that James Clear had youth on his side. The premise of the book is that an atomic habit is a tiny change that leads to just a 1% improvement. Given enough time and enough 1%, these tiny habits can lead to a big improvement. The third takeaway from the Hermit card is that I do better exercising alone. I've had enough injuries over the years that I am extremely careful about not overdoing things in a group setting or having an overeager instructor goad me into something that I know is not a good idea. Also, since COVID came on the scene and I've lost so much lung function, I must admit that I am paranoid about getting sick again and not excited to be working out in a group. My final takeaway from the Hermit is that I need to focus on my long-term goals. The Hermit didn't expect to get closer to God in a weekend. It was a long-term commitment. There is no reason why I need to rush this and aim to be cured by the end of the month. Both my parents are still alive at almost 90, so hopefully I have a few good years left. So let's do a quick summary about what I learned from this reading about how I can motivate myself to exercise. Card number 1, motivation, looked at why I was struggling to get motivated. The first reason is that I'm angry about the fact that, in my opinion, I've been sick too long between my lung issues and hurting my foot. I've been expecting that I will suddenly be cured and be able to go back to exercises that have worked for me previously, rather than looking at a new path forward. The reversed High Priestess tells me that it's time to take a new approach to exercise and not wait until I can revert to my old habits, no matter how successful they were. Card number 2 gives suggestions about how I can overcome some of the obstacles that I've been facing about getting motivated to exercise. This card tells me that I need to put effort towards increasing my motivation, specifically related to changing my thoughts, and not wait for the passage of time to change things. Card number 3, support, highlights things I can do to help support my desire to exercise regularly. The message from the Hermit is about looking inward, finding a mentor, making tiny improvements, and focusing on long-term goals. The other takeaway was that I do better exercising alone. I hope that this video gave you some ideas that you can apply to your tarot practice. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you've learned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.